about the history. How did you became a cosplayer?
And
Yeah,
thanks, by the way, for inviting me to
yeah,
your
yeah,
YouTube channel.
yeah, yeah,
Pleasure to be here with you.
yeah. Okay,
Enjoyed so far. Just talking to you even off screen.
okay, okay.
All right, how did I get started? That's a very good question. I'll tell you the way I got started is Halloween is kind of a big deal here and in the U.S. and I have kids, so it seemed like I was getting more and more dressed up every year
Okay.
and getting more and more into it. So after a while, I mean, just dressing up for Halloween became such a big event. I had haunted houses, very elaborate, with all kinds, everything from the scary jigsaw room to a scary room with the girl of the ring,
Uh,
and so just dressing up as something and the avatar, the alter ego, I think started to come out in me through Halloween events. And then seeing the first Iron Man movie, I think that's what got me thinking. I'm gonna build a Iron Man suit. I'm gonna cosplay this guy.
yeah, yeah,
That's kind of how it started. But once I was able to put a suit together with help from real costume builders. Um, I One of the first things that I decided I wanted to do with it is to marry, kind of merge that with my charity work. I was always volunteering and doing charity stuff. And there's actually a venue for that where you can dress up as a cosplayer. And one of my very first events I showed up to was a charity event. And then I got recruited by the group right away. They loved my suit. My suit was pretty cool. Even my first one, my Mark 6, it had a helmet that the mask would go up and down, all the lights
uh,
worked. It was pretty elaborate. And I'll never forget going across this parking lot, like a Smith's food parking lot, where they had it was a food donation drive, and I see all these other cosplayers in the distance. And so I get closer. They made me feel like family, and I think that's something that's very true about cosplayers.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
They're very welcoming. They're very
yeah,
supportive. They're very
yeah, yeah, yeah.
encouraging. So that's kind of how it started for me. And then I got
Okay, okay,
heroes. I did events here for, and it just snowballed. It just went
okay.
from there into all kinds of events. It just, once you have a suit and people like it, and you seem like a good character uh, in the suit, it just, things can just take off. And then
Yeah,
I eventually I got into competitive cosplay as well.
yeah,
But it all started for me, and my main focus is still charity.
yeah,
That's mainly what my passion is, to do that for kids with cancer, hospital visits, all of those types of events.
Clarify, what was your first cosplay? Was it in the Philippines or in the US?
In the US. So
Okay.
definitely in the US. I did some awesome events here. After getting involved with the 1 hour, I'm sorry, Heartfelt Heroes is the name of the group here in Vegas.
Ah,
It's
okay.
1 hour to be heroes in the Philippines is the group
Okay.
I belong to there. And recently I just joined Critical Care Comics, which is an awesome group. They asked me to join.
Mm.
But a lot of events here all culminated with an awesome event I did at Avenger Station, where Marvel actually flew in a kid that had cancer. Fox
Yeah,
News
yeah.
was there.
Oh yeah, I saw that
I
one.
his It was with the Make a Wish Foundation.
Okay.
His wish was to have breakfast with Iron Man at Avenger Station, and Marvel and Make a Wish made it all happen. And I showed up, and we went through the Avenger Station and had breakfast with a little boy named Benny. Me, and I invited Captain America, even though
Okay.
it wasn't part of the kid's wish, but Captain America was happy to join. So we had an awesome time. It was on Fox News, and it's
Yeah.
sort of kind of, that was the pinnacle moment for my cosplay here in Las Vegas or in the US before I
Okay.
left.
Recently I have also a charity. I just signed up last January. It's also involved in kids with cancer in the Philippines. So it's
Fantastic.
yeah, it's called Kite. Kite
Guy
Foundation.
Foundation.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
work with them in Cebu, along
yeah,
with
yeah, yeah,
Everlasting Hope and
yeah,
Cancer
yeah,
Warriors. But the Kai Foundation is a wonderful organization.
yeah, 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 yeah,
They're in the Cebu Cancer Institute, and we've done many visits with them there through, thanks to the Kite group. They get us
yeah.
in there. When
Uh,
I first started to do some charity cosplay in Cebu, and
okay.
there were some, just very few cosplayers that were into that. But the really good cosplayers like Barge and some of these guys,
Okay.
they really hadn't done it before. But I we kind of started to form a group together. But one of the things that really good cosplayers always asked when I would tell them, we're going to go to this hospital, we're going to visit the kids in the cancer ward, they would say, well, what's the talent fee? And I would say, guys,
Yeah,
we're not charging them. This is a charity.
yeah, yeah,
Where, so at first it was kind of a new thing for some of these really good cosplayers that do amazing, characters, that I
yeah,
try
yeah,
to get on board with our group. And then I did meet some others that were into it, and now I think it's spreading more like, I won't say wildfire, but I think
yeah,
it's
yeah,
spreading more, the idea, the concept
yeah, yeah,
that cosplayers that do this, you can do paid gigs, no problem, do that as well. But when you do a charity event, it should be free. That's all. It's just
yeah,
a
yeah,
different concept
yeah,
for
yeah.
some in the
Even
Philippines. Here in the U.S., it's well understood,
yeah, yeah,
and that's. But there's things that happen here sometimes that are kind of crazy that we could
yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
some other time. But it's just to consistently ran into talent fee. What do we?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
tell you, talent fee is zero.
yeah,
What you get is what you get is the kids smiling.
yeah, yeah,
That we're gonna bring smiles to kids' faces. We're gonna take away their pain, and not always kids. Sometimes young adults or even adults that are being treated. We're gonna
yeah,
take away their pain for an hour or two,
yeah,
and that is something you can't put a price on,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or make them
Uh,
forget about their pain.
yeah. Your love for geek culture, like
Mhm.
superheroes, what brought you into those world, the superhero
Well, of
stuff?
course,
Yeah,
I think like most kids, comic books is where it starts.
yeah. Mm.
But I kind of traveled all over the world when I was a kid. I had an unusual childhood. We lived in when I was a boy. We lived in Spain. My father's Spanish, but my mother is American.
Okay.
So, but we had traveled all over the place. When I was 12, we moved to New York. And that was the first time I'd been in the US. Although I spoke English since I was a kid because of my mom, and we lived in England as well. Um, Watching Star Trek. Do you know Star
Uh,
Trek, right?
yeah, yeah. The first one
When I
with
got
the
exposed to watching,
yeah,
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 the show with William Shatner back in the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
day,
William
and
Shatner.
that's a pretty old show.
Yeah,
The original show, I think, was back in the 60s to 70s.
yeah, yeah,
But that show, I think, turned me into a geek because ever since I started watching Star Trek, my love for sci-fi flourished, and I think I've been in love with sci-fi ever since.
yeah,
So that's where it started, for
yeah,
me. And we could talk like we were talking before.
yeah,
You and I could talk about a lot of
yeah,
movies
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that maybe we grew
Or-
up watching as
yeah,
kids, and that's where it started. And I think that
okay.
that movies are a big part of that today. How they inspire people to. Iron Man kind of has
Yeah,
inspired a whole group of
okay.
Marvel cosplayers in a way. I think I'm the father. I really am Robert Downey's age, so I'm like the father of
yeah,
of
yeah,
Iron Man and cosplay in a
yeah,
sense
yeah,
with
yeah.
my own group.
What is your words, marketing words for aspiring cosplayers?
Well, after the pandemic, then it'll be a whole different thing. Otherwise, you'll have to cosplay on Zoom,
Yeah, yeah,
which is
yeah, yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah.
but you can do videos. I have done videos for kids. I have done some special video requests I get for kids with cancer. So
Okay.
there's still stuff you can do, surprisingly. I
Okay.
try to encourage cosplay, uh, new cosplayers, I should say. I
Okay.
try to give them as much encouragement as I can. Find a character you love. Don't be afraid to be bold. Whatever it is, whatever the character is. If you love the character, try, either build a costume, get help building it. You'd be surprised. A lot of cosplays are not that expensive if you get creative.
Okay.
You can buy the materials secondhand. You can, I feel like I'm a master at that. People would be surprised how little I spent on some costumes. So Captain Kazian, I got asked to do the Rogue One event here in Las Vegas at the Palms Hotel. This was a while back. I put the costume together for like $50 and it looked great. I went
That's the
and bought a
talks.
leather jacket at a second store. I put the marks on it. I had, so it isn't, a lot of times I think folks think cosplaying is very expensive, and some of it is, but some of it is just about being creative, and right now I'm kind of doing the same thing. I've got a Mark 7 suit that a good friend has lent me. And I asked him, I said, this old Mark 7 suit is a little, it's okay, but it's a little out of date. What I want to do something different. So I'm painting the whole suit. I don't know if you saw that on my feed.
Yeah, the
I'm
Chrome.
painting it silver,
Yeah, yeah,
chrome,
yeah.
to match the Mark II. I'm redoing the chest piece,
Okay.
and I'm getting little bolts to do the rivets to make it look like rivets. I mean, I'm really getting into this. And that's part of, I think, being a cosplayer. You have to enjoy the part where you're building stuff.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you don't enjoy that aspect of it or putting things together, you're missing out on a big chunk of what cosplay is all about.
yeah, yeah.
So if you're an artist and you're like electronics or whatever your forte is, you got to throw yourself in there and do that, and that makes it so much more fun and
Yeah,
enjoyable.
yeah, yeah.
uh, you know Along with, of course, doing the events, or for me doing charity events and getting out in front of people. If you're shy, get some armor, have
Yeah,
a have a helmet, be an
yeah.
astronaut, so
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that you don't have to
Yeah,
show your face. But
yeah, yeah.
obviously I'm not shy, and I don't mind
Yeah.
getting in front of people, and I enjoy entertaining people and making them smile, and
Yeah.
hopefully taking their mind off their troubles.